Alright, so welcome back, and on this one we're gonna start with pretty much everything. We're gonna start chopping and creating the application. The first thing we're gonna do now, of course, just like with any other application in the world, maybe if you know PHP or any other just language, you chop your applications into tiny pieces. You just don't create one single JavaScript big as one single JavaScript file and you put everything on a single file. Of course, you do everything in different parts. For example, of course, let's say that we are going to create an application and we have our main app parent component, right? That's the main index file that we create with React. Then, of course, in our application, you might have a header. So, of course, you're going to create a new component and you're going to put it on a different file, right? Which is going to be the header. Now, later, of course, you need to show some content. So you're going to create a different file where you're going to put, whatever information you want. In this case, we're going to work with news. So we're going to call it news component. Now, of course, the news component is just a container. Now, inside, we're going to put some news. We're going to put some items. So we need to create a file that will rule all the different items. So just from the start, we need to create 4 different components with 4 different separate files. And this is, very normal when you work with an application. So let's go to the code and do this. All right, so back here in the application, we're going to reuse the one that we've been using. All right, we are not going to create a new one. Just makes no sense. Now, right now, I'm going to go and use this one. This is the main one. Remember, we are still inside the source. So by default, by convention, we need to create a new directory. And this is, of course, completely up to you. I'm just telling you what the convention is. Inside source, you could go and create all your different files and put them all in a single directory. That's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. Now, by convention, we put the main index of the starting of our application on the root directory of the source. And then what we do, we go and create a new directory called components. Because of course, we're going to put the rest of the components right here. This is the kickstart. All the other components go right here. Now, of course, you can call this views, or you can call this includes or templates, whatever you want to go. Components, it's the convention, it's the most popular one. Now, remember, we need to create different components. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to create the header.js. Now, later, we're going to go and show some news. So I'm going to go and create a new file and I'm going to call this news and then, news list.js. And then inside the news list, we're going to show different items. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to create a new one. And this one, I'm going to call it news, then list, and then, item. All right, and maybe you were thinking, why not items? And I made a mistake right here. Why not items? Well, the thing is that we already have a container that shows all the items. Each item will be on this file. So it's just a single item. So let me go here and just delete it. There we go. Sorry for that. Let me do it again. All right, I'm gonna go. There we go. So fine. So we get the item, we get the container of items, and then we have the header. And the main container is going to be the index. Now, we could create a different file, just to call it app, but we're going to do that later. Remember, this course is very long, and we're going to do a lot of things, a lot of projects. Right, so I'm going to close everything for now. And remember, the kickstart is going to be the index. So the first component we're going to work with is going to be the header. I want to show a header. So remember, what's the first thing we need to do? We need to import and then React from React. If you want a React component, you need to bring React. Right. Now then, of course, you need to choose what are you going to do right here. It's going to be a functional or a class-based component. We're going to talk about this much later, all right? So in this case, I'm just going to do a dump function, just a dump function. I'm going to say header, and this one, header, let me do it correctly, and open and close, and this one at the end is going to return something, and I'm going to do something dumb for now, just like maybe a div with something that says header or something like this. And then, of course, at one point, you really need to export default. Remember that this file, this component, will be part of a greater component that will just, have everything as children. So in order to export this one, you need to export, and then you need to do default. Now, and I'm just explaining this because maybe you don't know JavaScript or ES6 in this case, and you don't know the difference between export default and export. Now, whenever you export default, you can import components like this, like import the name of your component from and the location of the file. And that's why you export default. Now, the thing is that when you export default, you can only do one default per file. So if this is the default one, this is the only one that's going to be defaulted. If you want more, you're going to need to change how you export the files. So in this case, we are explicitly saying that this is like the top doc component of this file, and this one is the one that gets exported directly from here. All right. So right now, of course, nothing is going to happen if we run the application. I'm going to go and go to the new terminal, and maybe you're going to notice that the terminal is a little bit different, and it's because I had to do a full reinstall of the operating system on my computer, and some things are changed, and I'm recording this video like 30 days later after the previous one because I got a virus. I was like 30 days in bed or something like that. It was just crazy. I just got a virus, not the coronavirus. So I had to stop and do a lot of resting with fever and everything else. So the computer, the computer changed just a little bit, but that's fine. That's fine. Now I'm back. All right. So what do we need to do? Well, first I'm going to do npm start. We're going to run the development server. It's going to take just a minute. And of course, let's just wait for this. So notice I'm still getting notifications because I did a clean install. So yeah, sorry for that. But sometimes happens. All right, so let's give it a second. Just starting. All right, it's going to work. We get the dumb hello. Of course, we're going to make this better. Now we are exporting this component from here. So if we want to show it right here, we need to import it from the main parent. That's the rule. If this one is being exported, now we can import it from here. So I'm going to go right here at the top, and I'm going to do import and then header and then from and then /. We need to go to components, and then of course we bring header. Now, since we are using this name, we need to import this name. Now, I know that I'm being a little bit obvious, but I don't know your level. So at the beginning of the course, I'm going to be a little bit obvious. I'm going to go slow. But as we move through the course and we learn more and more things, I'm going to go faster, right? So yeah, I'm just going to tell you, we're going to go super fast once we know all the basics and we are just there, right? Okay, so now we have the app. So of course, what we need to do, since we are importing this component, I want to show it right here. So I'm going to go and delete this dumb, hello. And I'm going to say, all right, so now since I'm importing my header component, I'm going to go right here and say, dude, I want to show it. Of course, this is not going to do anything. If I go and reload, of course, we are just saying that we are showing a string, right? Because that's what we are doing. We are just saying string. Now remember, how can we change a string or a function or whatever into a component? We're going to go right here and just use the tags. So now this one is a component, and remember that there's a capital H. So I'm going to save it, and whenever we reload the application, we can still header because I'm saying header, but I'm going to go and add something just so we can tell the difference. I'm going to say hello. So we get it. We are just showing this component. Now, of course, when you import components, since they are on a different file, you can use the components as much as you want. Right now, we are importing the header and we are just putting it right here once. But if I wanted to, I can copy the header and just put it several times. And we're going to get the same component several times. It's just like doing an include if you know PHP. So yeah, pretty simple. Now, always remember the golden rule. You need to return a single statement. If we do something like this, the application will break, right? Okay, so always remember to do that. In this case, we just need a single header. Now, of course, right here on this function, we are just returning a div with, something dumb. Now, I'm going to go right here and just clear this. Now, I'm going to go and turn this like this, just to make it a little bit better, a bit more visual. And I'm going to go right here. Now, from within a component, when you return something from a component, you can, of course, use an inline statement. And that inline statement is going to return some dynamic content. Now, I know it's just confusing. Let me just give you an example. I'm going to say the date. Just to give you an example, the date is, and right here, I'm going to go and open curly braces. So on this one, what we can do, we can return some dynamic content, but it needs to be a single statement. We need to return a single statement. So if I do something like date and I do now and open and close, remember that this is a function. This is going to return the date. So if I save this and we go right here, we are going to get the date, right? And this works because this one returns a single date, right? So what happens if we return more statements? So for example, I'm going to go and say, I'm going to go right here and create a variable called new date. And this one is going to be equal to date now. And then right here at the very end, since I need to return something from here, I'm going to do, well, this doesn't work because you have several statements. First, you cannot create a variable. And then you have the variable and then you have the return. So this one, it's not going to work. It works only if you return a single statement. Now, what if you need to do a little bit more processing, right? Maybe you need a variable or you need to do something more. Well, in this case, you need to create a function. All right, so I'm going to go right here. I'm going to go right here at the top. I'm going to say, all right, so I'm going to go and create a new const. And notice we are inside the same component, right? And I'm going to say get the year. So now right here, we can create whatever function we wish, do whatever processing we want, and then return something at the end. So this again is just a fat arrow function, right? So right here, I can do something like new date equals to new date, of course. Let me do it correctly, new date, and there we go. So I'm going to go right here, and at the end of the day, I'm still going to go and return the new date that we are getting there, but then I'm going to go and get the full year, right? So again, we have two different statements, and at the end, we return something like this. Of course, we cannot do this here, but now what I can do right here, I can get the function and just call that function. That's it. Since this one at the end of the day is going to return something, that's going to work. And, you know, we kind of get it. I know, again, this is very dumb, but, you know, it's very useful. And you're going to use this whole time, like the whole time. Another thing you can do if you want it, you can go right here and do math operations. And remember, as long as you return a single statement, since a math operation, you're going to return one result, this is going to pass. So it's going to work. If I reload it, we get a 10. Cool. It's all right. All right, so super simple. Remember, you need, when you create components, capitals, then you need to return something. And when you include it, you can, of course, import it and use it several times. I know this one's super simple. Let's go to the next one and make this a little bit more challenging.